a whopping 15 1/4 inch of lift. Hey folks, welcome back to the channel, Long Shot Adventures. Today we're going to be putting Highlifter's true 2-inch lift kit in the 2021 Grizzly 700. Now it says true 2-inch. I have installed this before. As you're going to see, the parts are dirty. It wasn't feasible to make a video on the first attempt. The instructions are garbage. Something that they said was going to take a few hours took me about a day and a half. So we're going to make this video. Hopefully I'll show you a few shortcuts and ways to make it a little easier. And without further ado, let's get going. So like I said, this is Highlifter's true 2-inch lift kit. This is for the 700 Grizzly. I have heard reviews about this saying that you're going to break your axles, all kinds of things. I ran this for, I would say, 3,000 kilometers, and I've had no issues with axles. And as you've seen in my videos, we play in lots of mud and whatnot. Only reason it went off, the bike did go in for some warranty work, but it had nothing to do with the lift kit. So that being said, all the mods are off the bike. For all you people who love to torture me about my bike being so clean, it is dirty. We went out for a little spin last night. We broke through some water, frozen water, and lots of snow. So it's -5. I'll put the conversion down on the bottom. I believe it's about -10 with the wind chill today, so it's not feasible to wash this bike at all. So we're going to get to work on a dirty bike. The tools you're going to need for this installation, looking at a 17 mil cell. What's going on there? I'm going to remove the wheels. So we've got a little longer one. You're going to need a 10 mil, a 17 mil again, a 14 mil. Now the 10 mil, it doesn't mention that in the instructions, but I'm going to tell you, when we get into the back part of the installation of this lift kit, it's a nightmare, especially by the fuel tank. So we're going to take the fuel tank shield off, and that's what that's for. We're going to make it a little easier, a little. That being said, as you guys all know me here on Long Shot Adventures, every good plan starts with a nice cold beer. Oh yeah, and that BSR battery, as you can see, that is broken. That's another discussion for another video. That being said, they were great for warranty, so they did send me another one. So we're going to get this into us, and we're going to start the project. Now, one thing you might notice as we're going through this video, I'm removing the tires right now. As you can see, the bike's jacked up off the ground. The ease of this installation doesn't mention it again in the instructions. It's best to remove the exhaust. I have a video on how to install a Barker's exhaust and EH controller. That is going on today. I'm not going to videotape that because that's another video. By all means, go down my playlist and you'll see how to do that. So you're going to see a few little different things going on here. That's mostly when we get to the back. So the front, we're pretty much straight, removing the stock wheels and putting in the lift kit. So we're going to be taking our 17 mil socket and we're going to be removing our front wheels. So as you can see here, you can see our shock mounts up here to the frame. We're going to move that. That is running a 17 mil and a 14 mil. With those removed, you do see some rubbing here. Like I said, I upgraded to the Zilla's 30. Came stock with the 27s by 10. And because we ran the 11, we did rub a little bit just for a short amount of time. Not rubbing anymore. Long story short, unless you offset the rims, actually where I bought my rims, they told me I would have been fine with 11s, but I wasn't. It didn't hurt the tire. We put a little bit of rust on the shock springs, but anyway, long story short, add a character. So we're going to get these two bolts removed, pull that out. We're going to do the other side, and then we'll start getting our lift kit in. So we're going to go ahead, take our 14 mil and our 17 mil and remove those bolts. Or bolt. It's a pretty tight spot in there, so get that removed. Now once we get that nut off, just give it a couple of shakes up and down, and it will slide right out. Just like that. So for this application, I don't know if you're going to be able to see it or not. Probably not. It's going to say, they're going to have some numbers on them. That will say 47Z. That's going to be your front one. Mark it F. And 48A will be your back one. So as per the instructions, let's try to keep it a little clear as we can. That shock's going to move out of the way. Hook up to the two outer holes. This spacer here, that's going to go in right in that spot. That's going to go in there and fill that gap. It's a pretty tight fit around that shield, but it will go. Maybe not dropping things. We're going to get our front one here. So again, like I said, we got two spacers that come with this. Two spacers, so they'll go on each side of the shock here. Better angle. They'll go on each side of the shock here and take up that extra space. There we go. A little bit of time, effort, and patience on this one will go a long ways. So, you can see the orientation of these bolts. Put this one in, going towards the back. Your second one, going towards the front. Because you have your shroud here, if you can see it, you got your shroud here for your rad. You can't put that bolt in that way. And your spacer will feed in there. Now we'll go around to the other side. It's pretty much the same. I do want to show you one thing that I thought was a concern. That's your rad hose right here. Now there's a couple of mils there of clearance. It's hard to see. I did move this up, but honestly, after running about 3,000 miles, or sorry, kilometers on this bike with this lift kit, I had no issues with it rubbing. It just clears. If you wanted to, you can see that's just for me to put my finger in. You could tie wrap it a little higher up, but like I said, I mucked around with it a little bit and had no issues. So let's get these bolts tightened up and continue on. Put our in the back. And we'll get our torque wrench. We've set our torque wrench to 33 foot-pounds. We'll get this torque down. Go to the back one. Like I said, if you can't get in there for 33 any of these spots, just snug it down good. But for the intents and purposes of this video, I like to keep everything as close as torque specs as I can. These are OEM torque specs. I am aware that we are putting aftermarket parts in, but they don't mention the torque spec, so we'll go with the OEM. Two clicks. Check this one. And we'll go to the other side. So in order to get the job done, I had to use my, see if we can get the angle better. I did go with a 17. I did have to put an extension and a reducer on just because my torque wrench is a 1/2 inch drive, but we're able to get that torqued. Put one down, and then we'll get the front one. So we put our front tires on, lowered the bike. We're getting ready to jack it up and take off the back tires and continue on with our lift kit mod. But if anybody was interested to see what the bike looks like when we start doing all our mods to tear down what it looks like, this is it. So we've had to remove our rack, take off our front plastics, our side plastics. I have done a airbox modification mod, so that airbox is gone. Computer's going to go on there. Our exhaust has been removed. That's going to make it a lot easier to get down there to our do our lift kit. And yeah, we do get a fair amount of questions of what mods are done to the bike. So I've done an EHS controller upgrade, the airbox. We put a Barker's exhaust on, the 2-inch lift kit, a Highlifter. Put a set of 30 Zillas on from 27s. And what's the last one? Oh, we've done a the last mod we actually did do is a Coops clutch kit. So new spring and new front shim on the primary. So yeah, we're going to continue on. We're going to get the bike lifted up and continue on with the installation for the lift kit. So we've gone ahead and we removed our exhaust, and as you can see, it gives us lots of room in here. We're going to remove this bolt here. The Highlifter back part is going to go in there, and we go around the side. We're going to see what I was talking about there. So don't have much room behind that fuel tank right there, and to get the bolt in. So we're going to remove the shield. So before we remove the rear shock bolt, we're going to have to take off our sway bar. So, and that's a 12mm socket. So we're going to remove these 2 bolts. So now we've gone and removed the 4 bolts for our sway bar. So we don't want to disconnect it here. We just need to take some of the stress off it. So we're just going to take the 2 bolts off here, 2 bolts off on the other side, and that just takes some of that tension off. We'll be able to take this nut off a lot easier now. Tap. That sway bar removed should give us a little more play. Should. So just pushing down on the, so we see here, all I'm doing here is just pushing down, taking a little bit of the slack up and down, and that's allowing that bolt to come out. Comes there. Move over to the other side. So like I mentioned earlier, we're going to remove this 10mm bolt here, and then just move our gas line breather tubes a little bit, and that will we just want to move this a little bit to get it out of the way, because we're really snugged up against that tank and we don't have any room to get in there. I'm going to remove that, and then I'll show you the little more clearance that we're getting. Now don't get too discouraged by this. This bolt seems to thread forever, but it will come to its end. It's right down in here. It's threaded about this far down, so that will come. Pulls out. Make sure you keep that spacer. That's just what's going to keep it centered. And with that, you can see you're going to get a lot more clearance. You're not going to get more clearance away from the fuel tank, but you're going to be able to get your hands in there a lot better. So let's get that chuck off. As you can see, this is going to be a slow process. You just barely get your 14mm socket on there. You cannot get your box end this side around here. You're going to have to go with your open end wrench, and you're going to have to make small increment turns. It's just how it is. But like you can see, even with that shield loose, it's still kind of hitting in the way. So imagine when that was up in there like that, it was a nightmare. So we're going to pick away at that. So now we're able to get our bolt removed. It's a lot easier with that gone. Same thing, we're just going to get a little shake, and that's just going to come right out. Actually, this side came out a lot easier. So you're going to see when I'm going to try to get a better angle when we're putting this in. You really got to press down on this to get that in place. Puts a lot of stress on everything here, but it didn't cause any issues before, and it's only a short amount of time. So usually what I end up having to do, I'll put my foot on here, press in here, and in order to get the clearance to get, you'll see when we get going here, it's definitely not the easiest job in the back. Save the best for last is what I did. So the orientation for this, your high lifter back bracket's going to go back in here. You're going to go just past your air breather for your rear end diff, and this is how it's going to go. So again, you got your big spacer to take up the difference here in your, get in there, we're going to go in there, take up that space, and then you're going to put two of your smaller spacers are going to go in each side here, just like the front one did. So we're going to get this in place and continue on. So if you see in there, we've gone ahead and we've put our spacer in, our bolt, and that, that spacer right here. So we got these two pieces on, and on the back, a lot easier to show you on the other side. Anyway, that's going to go on there. You're going to still put your bolt on, and believe it or not, that's the easy part. So I'll show you on the other side, is a lot easier, but like I said, it gives you a lot more room with that heat shield gone. Brackets on the back side. We went around our breather tube. That comes there. And this has to go there. And then your nut feeds on here. So that's how that application gets put on. Just a lot harder to show you on the other side. What I did is I had to take my box end, my open end of my wrench, set it in there, and just kind of turn it until it gripped on the gas tank side. There's no real easy way to show you that, but you'll get it. Now that we've gotten that installed, here comes the fun part. So your shock mount here is going to have to be pushed down in place to go into this lower end, and you need to put both spacers inside here at the same time as holding the shock. I'm not going to lie, it's a real bugger. Anyway, like I said, best thing to do, make sure your bike's stable. You're going to push down on your foot here. They'll help move that into place. As you can see, like they're even pushing on it now, it's not even clearing. I mean, we're even pushing on it now, like it's right there. So we got to come down at least another inch. So we're going to get started at that. So I'll show you what I did. Again, push down on this with my foot. I was able to get it down here, and we're going to have to slide our little spacer here, get our bolt started, and the spacer on the other side, and get our nut on. So with a little bit of working, and it's not a job I would recommend having your child around when you're doing, we're able to get it in. So if you can see there, we got our first spacer in, our second spacer, got our bracket on the back, or sorry, front and the back. So we're going to put our bolt on. We'll snug those up a little bit, get the other side on. We'll end up putting in our sway bar. Now you're going to see a lot more tension on this because it's pushing down. I actually found it was easier in the last install if you drop the bike, and it's going to take a lot of that pressure off, and you'll be able to get it in there easier. But we'll continue on with that. So just for reference, we're going to show you where we're going with that. We did get it in, but well, it's not a lot of fun. So I'll move the heat shield away. So as you can see, zoom, we got our two spacers here. We're able to get just get your finger in there, and you just rotate it up in. You have to get both fingers in there. Couldn't do that plus recording. So, and yeah, we'll continue on with that. So this time we're looking at two 17 mils. So 17 mil socket and 17 mil wrench. I'm just going to take these up. These are still going to have to go the same as the front. So we're looking at 33 foot-pounds. Now, as going per usual for the side with the fuel tank, it's a bit of a bugger. Again, you got to get your wrench in just the right angle to get onto that bolt to tighten it, because the bottom one, they both have to kind of be lined up the same in order to be able to slide your wrench in. But that being said, it is doable. Like I said, a little bit of patience and maybe a beer or two will help the job go a long ways. So we're going to keep getting this tightened up. We're going to torque it, and then we'll move on to put the tire on. We'll lower the bike, and we'll put the sway bar hook back in. So now we got all our bolts torqued back down to 33 foot-pounds. We're going to go ahead and we're going to reinstall the shield for the fuel tank. Just goes in so. Try to get you a better angle of getting in my own light. Just play it around. Remember that thing there, that little collar slides right down, and we're just going to torque that down. So we got our 10mm bolt put back in place. I did want to show you this. Maybe you couldn't quite see on the other side as well. There's a lot of tension on this torsion bar now. There's no way you're going to get this pushed back up front. So we are going to put the tires back on, lower it back down, and you'll see that will push right back up in place, and we'll get our bolts onto it. I learned that the hard way the first time. So get our tires on, we'll get that bolted up. So as you can see, after lowering the bike, it's a lot closer. You're still going to have to play with it a little bit to get it up there, a little bit of muscle, but it's right there. So a little bar or pulling down on the bike a little bit will get you closer, and we'll get those bolts in. I wanted to show you, so once you get one side started, it pretty much lines perfectly up. I did cheat a little bit. I have some smoke pellets. I put that on there for weight, just to crunch it down a little more, because it is a bit of a job to pull down and start a bolt at the same time. It is quite a bit more difficult to get that sway bar in place when you got the lift kit, because obviously it changes the angle of your axles, so it puts more pressure on that. But if you have somebody handy that could sit down in the back and squash it down, that will work too well. But if not, and you got some smoke pellets or something around for weight, that makes a difference. So we can get the buttoned up and continue on. So now we got the torsion bar on and buttoned down. We've torqued our wheel nuts to 41 foot-pounds. I'm going to get the rest of the mods put on the bike, so we're not going to videotape this. What we are going to do is, after that's all done, we're going to wheel it out, bring it back in. We're going to take a measure it. Remember, we had 11.5 inches of clearance before the 2-inch lift kit. We're going to measure that, and then we're going to wheel it back out. Sorry, we're going to measure that. We're going to put a 30s on, wheel it back out, and come in and see what we have for an overall lift kit. It's going to be quite surprising, because I have heard the Zillas don't measure true. Now, I didn't measure the 27s when they were new, so I can't say that for sure, but I did measure the 30s when they were new, and they were true. So we're going to see. We'll have to wait to the end, but we'll see what we have for a full for the complete difference in height. So the bike's all together. We got all our mods put back on. Tires are back on. We took the bike out for a little spin, came back in, redid our measurements. Now, if you remember, it was 11.5 inches before we put any mods back on with the 27s, the same tires. When you measured this time, we're at 12 and we'll say 7/8. So we'll give it 1.5 inches just to be kind, because I'm sure Highlifter rounded it up as well. So this is the 2-inch lift kit. Obviously, if it was only 1 inch, I wouldn't get more than 1 inch. So we are at 1.5 inches. That's what I got last time. That's what we got this time. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to turn around. I'm going to put the 30s on, and I'm going to remeasure. Now, I know might get a little bit of flack about this. These tires here do have wear on them, about 3,000 kilometers. So do the 30s. They got about the same on it. But that being said, we'll take that with grace. So we have 3 of our 4 tires mounted. I figured just before I put the last one on, let's do a side-by-side comparison and see the difference between a 27-inch Zilla with about 3,000 kilometers on it and a 30-inch Zilla with 3,000 kilometers on it. Now these are both on 14-inch rims. We're going to set them here side by side. Almost 5. We'll say 4.5. We'll be nice. We'll say 4.5 inches. So 4.5 inches difference between a 27 and a 30. Now, that being said, it should only gain you 1.5 inches, right? If my math's right. 27, 28, 29, 30. That's 3 inches. So you should really only gain 1.5 inches. But again, I've heard the 27s do not measure true. So you're running a 26. And I know, like I said, I didn't measure the 27s when I had them from the OEM, but I did measure the 30s when I got them in, and they did measure a 30. So we're going to throw them on the scale and see what the difference is weight. Again, we're running an OEM rim with the 27 Zillas, which came with the bike, and we're running an HD rim with the 30 Zillas. See what the difference is in weight. So we have our 27 Zillas on their OEM rim, just holding here. We're on a 41.2, so let's round it up to 41. So 41 pounds for that tire. Let's get the 30s on. Oh, we're looking at 45.6. So let's even say 46. So 41 to 46, and you're going to a 30-inch tire. Now this is not an OEM rim, so we're looking at about 5-pound difference times 4. You know, 5, 10, 15, 20. My math's terrible. We're looking at 20 pounds in a difference, but you're gaining a lot more height. So let's get these bad boys on. We'll get the bike down. We'll get it rolled out, rolled back in, and let's do the measurement and see what it's worth. So we've gone ahead. We got our tires on. The bike's rolled out, rolled back in. Oh, don't forget, we torqued the wheel nuts to 41 foot-pounds before we did that. Don't forget that. That's very important. Don't want the tire flying off. So what did we end up in the end? I wish you could see the difference. I should have. These cameras don't do any justice. Anyway, it's a monstrous bike after all the stuff's been done to it. So let's see what the numbers are here. So we ran 11.5 inches. Now, like I said, this is what I have in my baby barn with about 3,000 kilometers worth of wear on those tires. With the 2-inch lift kit, went up to 13. We rounded it up to 13. So 11, 12, 13, you know, 1.5 inches for about $500. That's Canadian. I know it's cheaper, but Highlifter is American, so by the time you do the exchange, shipping, duty, all that good stuff. So 1.5 inches for $500. Is it worth it? Depends who you ask. If it's, you know, some guys want 1.5 inches, they pay $10,000 for 1.5 inches. Anyway, you have to make that decision. As far as the after we put the tires on, so remember, 11.5 inches without anything mods put on, 13 inches with the 2-inch lift kit, which was 1.5 inches, and with the 30-inch tires, we have a whopping 15 1/4 inch of lift. Again, the 27s with the OEM rims were run at 41.2 pounds, and with the 30 Zillas, now these are all Zillas, with the HD rims, we're running 45.6. So not a huge difference. Like I said, about 20 pounds in the difference in weight. And we're gaining, like I said, 11.5, going all the way up to 15 1/4 inches. So in total, we're gaining 3 1/4 inches. Is it worth it for all that money? Like I said, there's wear on these tires. Is it worth it for all that money? It's up to yourself. You're going to want to do a clutch mod for sure. This is a single piston 700. It really zonks it. Like I said, you're only looking 20 pounds in the difference. You wouldn't think that make that much difference, but it's definitely your circumference and your mechanical advantage and all that stuff. We're not going to get anything that heavy here. So, long story short, I really enjoy the mods I did. If you see me on the trail, stop by. It will do it a lot of justice to see the bike in person. And yeah, any questions, drop them down in the comments and I'll be happy to answer. So as always, stay safe and take care.